Hello, brave cadet. What is your name? Oh, nice to meet you. My name is Adiljan, and it is my colleague Igrim, and we are watch officers of the OSO Shipping Company. As you already know, nowadays we are on the most advanced and large shipping companies in the world. So you are very lucky to have an internship in our company.
Today, you will be familiarized with one of our Aframax tanker ship on which we are working. You will see which type of cargo is transported on this type of ship. You will enter the tank to better know its design, look through the cargo pipelines, and will better understand how to discharge and preparing to dry dock operation are running. And at the end of the day, we will explain the laws and guidelines which you must know during any tanker operations. So let's go!
So, welcome on board.
Woo!
We are sailing on Vera for about 2 years after graduating from the Kazakhstan Maritime Academy. So, the type of the ship is Aframax tanker. Length overall is 250.10 meters. The length between perpendiculars is 239 meters. Breadth is 44 meters. Depth is 21 meters. Draft is 14.6 meters. Deadweight is 109,800 deadweight tonnage. Propeller diameter 7,200 millimeters. Number of cargo tanks 12. Plus there are 2 slope tanks. Cargo tanks blocks length is 181.44 meters. Now, could you guess which type of the cargo do we transport on this ship?
Yes, you are right. It is a crude oil. Crude oil is a raw natural resource that is extracted from the earth and refined into products such as gasoline, jet fuel, and other petroleum products. Do you smell that? The odor is similar to rotten egg, but don't get too close. Could you see the stickers on tanks and barrels? They warn you that crude oil is a dangerous substance. It's extremely flammable as a liquid and as vapor too. The flash point is typical 38 degrees. It can cause skin irritation and dizziness. It may be fatal if enters airways because it releases hydrogen sulfide gas. Percent of volatiles is 100, so it evaporates easily. It must be stored in cool, dry, well-ventilated areas away from heat, direct sunlight, hot metal surfaces, and all source of ignition. Keep container tightly closed. It feels like you are already dizzy. So let's go inside the clean tank.
I entered the tank for the first time. Oh, make your wish. How you can see, there are a lot of pipes and different other things, but don't be panic. I'll stop on each of them and explain. So, this is a cargo drop line. By this line, we load our cargo into the tank. Cargo heating coils are lying on the bottom. We needed to heat the cargo because its viscosity becomes less during its heated. But when it cools down, viscosity rises and we cannot discharge it. So that's why we need to heat it. Cargo pump, which must be located in the lowest place in the tank to pump out the maximum possible amount of cargo. It is run by the shaft, which is near the pump. Also, there are temperature sensor fitted in the pump. Okay, next, the ventilation of the tank. Um, Ventilation of the tank controls the air, vapor, and inert gas releasing or keeping it in. Opening for tank cleanings. Through these things, we connect our cleaning equipment. It sprays the water of the or the chemical liquid, depends on the cargo, at very high pressure. We'll explain to you about the tank washing a little bit later. So the next is rudder level gauge. It gives you precise data for custody transfer, inventory management, and loose control. It works on the principle used by a radar set or an echo sounder. Pulses are transmitted from the top of the tank, and time taken for them to be reflected back is measured and displayed as a knowledge or depth. High-level overflow alarm. It's located on top, and it sounds when the tank is completely full.
Pipeline system. Pipelines are simply what their name suggests. Lengths of steel pipes that connect groups of cargo tanks to one another and by which those tanks are loaded and discharged. There are three basic types of pipeline systems: direct system, ring main system, and free flow system. We use a direct system on board of our ship. The system is commonly used on tankers as it facilitates quick loading and discharging of the cargo. This is the simplest type of pipeline system. It takes oil directly from the tank to the pump and so reduces friction. This has an effect of increasing the rate of discharge, at the same time improving the tank suction. It is cheaper to install and maintain than the ring main system, because there is a less pipeline length and with fewer valves, less likelihood of malfunction to circumvent. Line washing time is also considerably shortened. However, as there is no circular system, lines can often be difficult to wash, and one simply has to flush the lines into tanks with seawater. Another disadvantage that the Loyot is not as versatile as the ring main system, and problems in the event of faulty valves or leaking pipelines could prove more difficult to circumvent.
The other lines which are lying on deck is cargo vent line, main cargo line, crude oil washing, and MARPOL line. We have already mentioned the first three of them, but the last one might be unknown for you. So we will tell you that MARPOL lines we use during the stripping operation to discharge the last part of the cargo from the ship. Remember those lines. We will discuss the stripping and crude oil washing systems later.
So now let's talk about the discharge operations. First, a tanker vessel arriving at the oil terminal has to be properly moored for the cargo handling process, and its position has to be continuously controlled during the unloading time. Moreover, the ships and terminals representative have to discuss all technical issues and procedures before the transshipment process may begin. Discharging rate and pressure of discharge on the ship manifolds should never exceed the agreed value. The quantity of discharged cargo for each watch should be recorded in the cargo logbook.
So, the process of crude oil discharging. Before starting the unloading process, a piping system line, an arrangement between tank, farm, and terminal, and agreement between the vessel and terminal have to be set. Then the vessel marine loading arms are connected during the unloading process. For crude oil, usually 3 loading arms are connected. The line has to be set by choosing dedicated tanks and pumps on the vessel, and by opening or closing the relevant lines, valves. So line up and start inert gas plant with the recirculation valve, returning gas to the funnel until the pumps start running. When lining up is completed and it is confirmed the inert gas plant is running, so satisfactorily, the ship is ready to start pumping the loading. The ship is built with segregated ballast tanks, and since there is no leakage suspicion of the cargo tanks, the ballasting with the concept of the terminal installation can begin before the end of the discharging, neatly, such as to maintain the safe trim and safe conditions. monitors the changes of the trim having the same discharging operation. Also, the chief officer controls the draft and the tilt and trim of the vessel, the rate and speed of the discharging pump, the pressure in the discharge line, and to compare the entires to these different indicator devices on the deck. So periodically, usually it's every hour, the chief mate completes discharging log, which includes turns and the pressure of each pump, and any stoppages done from the vessel or the shore. It's also calculated, the cargo loaded and discharged, and it compares the cargo on board with the numbers given from the shore station.
The last valves on marine loading arms are opened and pumps on vessel starts with initial rate and loading cargo with slow rate. Check the pipelines and pumps for the leakages. If there is no leakages, increase the discharging rate to agreed maximum rate. The unloading cargo starts with the full rate. During discharging, the parameters and infrastructure integrity have to be inspected on a regular basis. In a simplistic way, in the final stage, the unloading cargo with reduced rate takes place, and tanker finishes discharging cargo by stripping all cargo tanks. At the end of the transshipment, we're dealing with the stripping process and washing of tankers from the sediment. Then the pumps stop, relevant valves are closed, and the loading arms are disconnected. Below, there are given technical parameters of crude oil discharging process at different states. So, stripping system. The final part of discharge operation, but one of the most important, is stripping the remaining cargo from the pump room, piping, and cargo piping. When cargo discharge has been completed on a cargo system, the pipeline system should also be discharged ashore. The ideal arrangement for this operation is a stripping system which includes a separate, small diameter discharge line to the midship manifold, with connection to each cargo manifold outboard of the manifold valve. If that arrangement is available, the following procedure can be used. Stop discharge, close manifold valve, open main cargo pump bypass valve, open suction valve to accumulation, open cargo line valve at manifold, open stripping suction to accumulation tank, strip accumulation tank ashore via MARPOL line. When tank is empty, close valve D and E and open valve F. Strap line reduces ashore, stop stripping pump, close all valves.
So now let's talk about the last process. It's crude oil washing. As tanker ships carry different grades of fuel oil in the same cargo tanks, it's important that the tanks are always be washed before loading fresh cargo, because the residues from the last cargo can damage new cargo and you will have a loss. So the process of crude oil washing is actually very easy. Crude oil is pumped back and preheated to the slope tank, then sprayed back via high pressure nozzles in the cargo tanks onto the walls of the tank. So the sediments sticking to the tank dissolves and converts into a usable cargo, which we can pump out to short tanks, or this process is known as a crude oil washing, or COV. Upon washing with the crude oil to the tank atmosphere becomes safe and non-flammable. And this is done with the proper operation of inert gas system. But that does not absolve us from taking measures restricting ignition sources in the tank.
So, preparation for dry docking. All departments in charge to confirm that repairs assigned under their departments are completed successful, with tests and surveys are carried out. Check rudder plug and vent and also check if a node are fitted back on rudder. Check all double bottom tank plugs are secured. Check echo sounder and locks are fitted and covers removed.
Check if the propeller and rudder are clear from any obstruction. Check if anchor and anchor chain is secured on board. Check all external connections, shore water supply, shore power cables are removed. Check inside the ship all repaired. Overboard valve are in place. Secure any moving item inside the ship.
So, check soundings of all tank and match them with the value obtained prior entering the dry dock. Check stability and trim of the ship. Positive GM should be maintained all the time. Go through the checklist again and satisfactory checklist to be signed by master. When flooding reaches overboard valve level, stop it and check all valves and stern tube for leaks. Instruction to every crew member to be vigilant while undocking. So, the last part of our informative journey is documentation and guidelines for tanker operation. There are lots of regulation and laws which seafarers have to know before run any tanker operation. We will mention them below. Firstly, SOLAS, which includes fire safety equipment requirements, which are much more strict than on the other ships because risk of fire on tankers is higher.
Also MARPOL, which includes requirements connected to the double hull and protective location of segregated ballast tanks, because even in loaded condition, ship have to survive after any collision.
ISM code, or International Safety Management, was developed in order to achieve incident-free operation, and every ship operator or port operation have to study it. As per ISM, companies have to supply their vessel and crew with all required equipment, instruction, and facilities. Before every operation, master have make meetings with plan and instruction. Also, all checklists have to be completed.
TMSA. It stands for Tanker Management and Self-Assessment. It was introduced as a tool to help improving management on the tanker ships, increase awareness of the operators. Also, late publications include feedback from the industry. It is more practical stuff because it gives direct feedback. And feedback always is way to improve the system.
The International Safety Guide for Oil Tankers and Terminals, or ISGOTT, as it is now widely known, has become the standard reference work on the safe operation of oil tankers and the terminals they serve. It includes more specified information as a general information, tanker information, terminal information, and the management of the tanker and terminal interface.
During the transportation, loading, discharging operations, everything might happen. So, in case of emergency, there are planned. All the ships have a plan, which is called SOPEP, Ship Oil Pollution Emergency Plan. So it includes instructions to master of the ship, how to report, procedures for coordinating all the team in these cases, responsible persons for equipment, and responsible persons for the roles during emergency. Also, there are detailed description of the actions must be taken to prevent high amount of the loss and spreading. There are also SMPAP, SMPEP. It is also the plan, which is done for the ships carrying chemicals.
So, we hope you enjoyed the internship on board of our tanker and learned more about the tanker and tanker operation. This series will be very useful